Hi, good people. Hi, TIs. It's Sherry, and I am here with some free and valuable information for you to benefit yourself as well as others. So, share this. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, okay? Today, I'm going to be talking about my favorite subject, which is the brain and neuroscience and the fact that you can actually sync the human brain with other human brains, okay? Um, and and do a hive mind, okay, or interfacing, brain computer interface, as it's also referred to. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, so welcome. My channel is, I'm looking at my notes here, so I apologize, everybody. My channel, I do research and reviews, as the name states, and I do various topics on things like technology, to things like psychology, studies that are done, product reviews, and even personal stories on my situation. Um, Things like dating and also my life being a targeted individual, which is a whole subject altogether. But that's videos I do on Saturday called puzzles, piecing the puzzle together. But that's high TIs. That's a different crowd. Everybody else, you're more than welcome to stay. Okay, because today again we're going to be talking about the human brain. Okay, and how this thing can be interfaced with other human brains and how it is so wondrous and awesome how that can be done. It's not theory. These are facts. Okay. All right, let me explain how. Okay, so um, I'm going to explain a little bit about the what interfacing is and how it's done and the history behind it and the multiple benefits that can come out of syncing a human brain with another human brain, because there are plenty benefits. Okay. um, okay, and yeah, so syncing can achieve a lot of greatness. Okay. Alrighty, so pop culture, if you notice in the movies and everything, they talk about things like mind meld. Star Trek, Mr. Spock could always mind meld. Movies like The Lawnmower Man. There was a really cute movie with the rats of Nim, which was rats getting experimented on until they got really smart, right? Probably from interfacing. Okay, and then it talked about even another Star Trek thing was the Borg, right? Resistance is futile. You will assimilate. You got it. For all you Star Trekky weirdos out there, hi, I know I love sci-fi. I never knew sci-fi was so awesome until my later years. I mean, I was interested in it, and I've always been a reader, but I would read more, I don't know, I guess like psychology kind of stuff. But sci-fi also ties into that. So yeah, so Star Trek anyway. So yeah, things like the Borg, okay, with the Borg Queen, hive minding, the collective, right? Okay, because you're getting a collective of minds, not just one, right? More powerful altogether. Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, this is not a theory. The capability exists to interface, synchronize, sync, if you will, human brains to other human brains. It's called brain computer interface. So you're interfacing, right? Face, inter. You're taking two brains and interfacing them. Okay, so how can that be done? Well, for one thing, the brain itself, okay, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on the brain. All right, then I'll talk about the history of the actual experimentations on the brain, and then then we'll close up with the benefits. Okay, so those three things. Those three things. Those three things. I have curvy fingers, so I don't like, but anyways. Okay, so again, the brain. Oh yeah, the brain. Okay, that's the organic brain. Okay, that's housed in here in your cranium, in your skull. Okay, now the brain is an organ, flesh and blood and grooves and vessels and capillaries and all that. But the brain is also electrical chemical. Okay, in nature, electrical chemical. You see that? That's a representation of the electrical activity going on. So what that means is the brain can be stimulated electrically because the brain operates electrically, chemically as well. Okay, now I think, okay, so since the brain is electrical chemical, we're used to treating it in the chemical fashion, especially with things like psychiatric drugs that affect chemicals like dopamine, serotonin. Even in the body, we're used to treating like hormone chemicals, insulin for diabetes, right? Thyroid hormone chemical for, for over or underactive thyroid, stuff like that. And we forget that it's electrical. So the nice thing about that, the fact that it's electrical, okay, and has frequencies, it can send and receive messages, okay, signals, electrical signals. So it's like a radio, it's a transmitter. This is a receiver transmitter device of the best, highest quality, right? Right. Okay, so that being said, the brain also has different functions, okay? I want to show you a picture. All right, so you get the fact that it's electrical chemical. I just want to make sure, okay, because again, it's an organ like this, but don't forget that at its base level, it's also an electrical chemical organism. Don't forget the electrical part. That's what makes it able to transmit and receive messages and to hive mind. You get that, easy peasy, yeah, okay. So now, different parts of the brain control different functions. Okay, I got a picture here, a diagram for you. Bear with me. Okay, here we go. Bam. That is a representation diagram of the human brain and different functions of the brain. All right, so if you notice the color blue, that's for the auditory cortex, which is right by the ear. Okay, right there, the blue. All right. Also, the motor and the touch are towards the frontal top. See that? Right where my index finger is. All right. That's the motor and touch. Okay. Which is motor is every movement of the body. Micro and macro. So little movements, snapping your fingers, clapping your hands, blinking, coughing. Those all take different muscles. We don't notice it because we do it so instantaneously, but the messages have to be sent, the electrical signals have to be sent to the muscles to do each little movement, each little one. You know, even wiping your eye, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, you know, putting on your shoes. Those are all motor movements, right? Okay, so then also too, let's not forget the visual. Okay, now notice the eyes on this diagram of the person are in the front, but the visual cortex is in the back. That's because of refraction. Eyes are here. I don't mean to do that. Eyes are here. Visual cortex is here, okay, in the occipital lobe because of refraction, right? How it turns the image around. Okay, that's all I know about it. But anyways, the point is that the brain controls all of this. All right? How you move. Also, the brain controls not just with the body, the mind, of course. So all emotions, mad, sad, glad, all those. Imagine in a day how many different you can go through. I mean, we're pretty stable, but at different times with different things, our emotions can fluctuate, right? So I love this little diagram. It's just saying all those anger, fear, sadness, joy, a little emotions, you know, kind of lay out. The brain controls all that. Different parts of the brain. One more diagram. I know, I'm giving you guys a lot, but you got it. You got it. I got to explain it like this. Otherwise, to just explain hive mind, some of you, okay, you're going to get it. But if you're like me, you want to know how. How can this happen? It sounds very intricate, and it is. But it's simple once you break it down. The brain. Okay, so here we go again. Another diagram of the brain. You see at the bottom, that's a little stem. The brain stem at the bottom. This is the back, and then where my pinky is, that's the front, right? Yeah. Okay, so now this one, I like this little diagram because this breaks it down even more, okay? So like in the frontal lobe, you notice that's attention, planning, decision-making, you know, all the executive, I don't mean to do that symbolism, all the executive functioning happens in the front, okay? Movement, again, just like we seen in the other diagram, towards the top, okay? So your motor cortex. Touch right here. I mean, we take touch for granted, but without touch, you don't know how hard to press, how soft, you know, you could be breaking bones and, you know, hurting yourself. What if you brush your teeth too hard, you know, or, you know, what if you walk too hard and you're throwing your joints out of whack? I know it seems simple. The body, how it works, the body and brain is such a homeostasis and so wonderfully built that we take it for granted. But when you break it down, the brain controls all of this. And the brain operates on, again, electrochemical, okay? So these are all signals, okay, to make the body move, to think a thought, and to feel emotions. That's all done here. And this operates on electrical chemicals. All right, that is how you can send and receive messages from here, okay? Excuse me, I don't mean to, I'm not making any secret hand gestures or anything like that. I do have to use my hands to gesture, but I'm not trying to do anything inappropriate, okay? If you feel like I am, call me on it, okay? I can assure you that I'm not. And if I am, I'm not doing it on purpose, okay? Anyways, so yeah, this little diagram again, you got the vision, you got your taste center. Imagine how important that is when you're eating food. You want to be able to taste it. Your hearing, your smell, your speech, your memory, emotion, all that. Okay, so the brain, electrical, chemical, and again, the body. This is kind of, I like this little diagram, but all that. This is not the best like for muscles, but you get it. All the arms, the hands, the shoulders, the feet, everything has muscles and tendons and flexors and extensors to make the body move, along with the bones, the flesh and blood and the bones. Okay, so you get it? You get that the brain controls all of that. Every thought, every emotion, and every body movement is controlled by the brain, and the brain operates off of electrical chemical activity. All right, you got it. Get it? Got it good. All right. Don't ask me again. Just kidding. You can ask again, but come on. Let's get it now. Get it. All right, so this is not a theory. These are facts. All right. History of the research. People have decided to research the brain. Of course, it's a fascinating topic, is it not? One of those researchers was Jose Delgado. He's from Spain. He was from Spain, and he did his research and worked at Yale University. And he co-authored a book in 1952 about stimulating the human mind with electromagnetic capability, okay? And he went on to do experiments implanting electrodes, okay? Implants inside of monkeys, cats, and finally he did a bull. And this was interesting. If you research it or if you YouTube it, he implanted a bull and he put electrodes in his head, okay, so that he would receive the signals, right, electrically, electrodes. And he took the bull in the ring, and the bull was going to charge him, not out of meanness or anything aggressive. That's just what bulls do, right? And because he had a remote control that connected with the bull, okay, signal to signal, get it? The brain can receive, the brain can send. Get it? The brain can receive electrical signals. It makes its own electrical signals when it's thinking thoughts, feeling emotions, or moving the body, electrical, but it can also receive and send. Got it? Like a transmitter. It's a receiver, transmitter up here. Quantum, this is a quantum processor right here of the best kind. So Jose Delgado got into the ring with the bull after he had made those implants in him, and when the bull went to charge him, it does its little foot like that and it gets ready to charge, which is what bulls do. No surprise there. And he had the remote control though, and boop. Here, I think I have a picture of one. I just might. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Are you still here, guys? Okay, just hold on. No, I had a little picture of remote control too. Oh, yes, I do. I got it. I get it. We've all seen remotes. Don't they all look like this? Now they do. Back in the 80s, 90s, they were huge and they were skinnier too. I remember longer and skinnier. So Panasonic and all those brands. Even the brands are different. But yeah. Anyway, so Jose Delgado had a remote control. He had the bull in the middle of the ring. The bull went to charge him. Boop. He pushed the remote control that interfaced with the electrodes in the bull's head, and the bull stopped. You get it? So he was able to remotely control the bull's bodily behavior, and not to mention the urge, the mental urge to do it by interfacing with those electrodes implanted inside of him. Okay, so that was one neuroscientist that contributed a lot. Okay, he also wrote a book. If you're interested, I highly suggest reading it. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. He first did his experiments with electrodes, so he had to go in there and do brain surgery, neurosurgery, and implant the electrodes. Later on in the 70s, he mentioned that they no longer needed to implant electrodes. It could all be done remotely with frequencies. Okay? Just like phones. Okay, nowadays we have the cell phones. No cords, no nothing. Why? Because the signal goes right through the air. Back in the 80s and 90s, right, we had the landline phones where they run, and some people still have them. They run through the ground, right, the cables. Okay, so you need the cord to be attached. Not so anymore. Okay? Wireless through the frequencies, the spectrum. Okay? All right, so we're becoming advanced here. So he mentioned everything that could be done remotely with electrodes could be done with frequencies. And this is by the 70s. Okay, he wrote a book. You might want to check it out. It is called The Physical Control of the Mind. Physical control of the mind. How is that? The mind's in here, right? The brain. How are you going to physically control it? You're going to hold them down, hold their head down, get them in a headlock. Just kidding. No, no, that's not how you do it. Although I'm sure many maybe have tried that way. No, it's not how you do it. But his book was called Physical Control of the Mind, Moving Towards a Psycho-Civilized Society. Psycho-civilized. Psycho, psyche, Greek for mind and soul, right? Psycho-civilized society. What does that mean? A society is more civilized if you can access their psyche? Okay, how would you do that? Signal to signal. Duh. It's fascinating. Is it not fascinating? It's fascinating. Okay, so try to read that book, Jose Delgado. It's a good form of research. All right, second neuroscientist, set of neuroscientists. This was two gentlemen. They did research in the 70s at Stanford University, I believe it was. And that's Michael Persinger and Robert G. Malik. Now, they took volunteer patients. Maybe they weren't volunteer, whatever. They took people and they would show them pictures, okay? Like such. Oops, excuse me. Like such. And then they would have them hooked up to a machine so they could read the electrical, and it's called an EEG, electroencephalogram. Kind of like an EKG is for your heart, electrocardiogram, keyword electrical, cardio for heart, electroencephalogram, encephalo for head, okay, gram for measuring. So they would hook up these people to the EEGs, electroencephalogram, and they would show them pictures, and then they would record the electrical signals that their brain was giving off at that time. So what? What does that mean? So they were able to finally create a dictionary of like 250 words that the people were thinking when they looked at a picture, but without the people ever saying a word. Get it? You can read the signals from the brain that pop up on the electroencephalogram just by just by looking at what, building a dictionary of them, because at the same time, the brain's going to use the same pattern. It's going to send off the same signal. So that's what they did. They created a human dictionary of words, 250, and that was back in the 70s, early 70s. So how much more so, we're up into, I'm sure, the thousands by now. And I think the average human vocabulary, you think it's more. Like even readers like me, not that I'm really smart, but I read a lot and I have read a lot. So I'm like, oh, I've got to be up to like 20,000 words or something. No, it's actually like, I think like kind of low, like 2,000 words, maybe 5,000 in somebody like really eloquent and does a lot of speaking and uses a big vocabulary. But in your daily repertoire, your toolbox of words, you don't really use that many different ones, because that would be harder to always think of different words. We do it when we're trying to accentuate something, especially when you're speaking, public speaking or whatever. But on average, you're using the same words because it's the same things, right? Food, whatever, water, bath, hair, this, that. So 2,000 to 5,000 words the average human uses. They were already up to 250 words back in the early 70s, so how much more so now? How much bigger that dictionary is, okay? So that being said, Michael Persinger and Robert G. Malik got a lot done, okay? So they created a dictionary of how to read what someone was thinking without them saying a word, okay? Just by reading off the EEGs, the electroencephalograms, keyword electrical. Why? Because the brain is electrical as well as chemical, and it can receive and send signals, okay? Also, the second step that those two neuroscientists did, I'm not going to tell you. I know because I researched it and I read articles, and then I read a book by the man who actually refers to those doctors in his book. It's called Guinea Pigs, okay, by Dr. John Hall, and he is a targeted individual. If you're wondering what that is, you should really read his book. He also has another book called A New Breed, Advanced Satellite-Based Technology. Very awesome book, and he refers to that. So I've read those and I've done my research. Actually, my very first YouTubes were doing a review on the book that he wrote, so I'm forever grateful to him. Very He got me started out and helped answer a lot of questions. Okay, so these people, they did a lot of research. Michael Persinger, Robert G. Malik, and Jose Delgado, and men like Dr. John Hall, who's also a doctor. He's an anesthesiologist down in Texas. Like I mentioned, he's a targeted individual. So these people have contributed a lot to neuroscience and to understanding the human brain. So it would definitely behoove you to look at some of their work. And the very next step of that research with Dr. Malik and Dr. Persinger, like I said, they created the dictionary first, ... What do you think was the next step? They created something. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to do your own research on it. It's fascinating, though. It's really fascinating. Okay, so we're going to talk about the story of two rats that actually an example of how they interfaced their brains and did a hive mind on them. Okay, this was, I believe, at Duke University, but the rats were from two different continents. One was from Brazil, the original one that had been conditioned and trained to do the maze, and one was in North Carolina that hadn't been trained yet. Okay, so what happened was they had trained the first rat number one, how to push a lever to get a treat. Okay, and so he did, and it interfaced. He had a little implant in his brain, and it would interface, and he, his reward center of his brain, Anyways, he knew how to push the lever to get the food. The second rat did not know how to push the lever. So basically, rats aren't very smart naturally unless you train them. So he probably was just looking at the treat and not knowing, hey, if you push that lever, you'll get the treat. Okay, so what they did was they hive-minded the two rats, their brains together, even though they were in two different places. One was in Brazil, one was in North Carolina. Okay? You like how I did the accent? One was in Brazil, one was in North Carolina. Okay? So two continents. But what they did was amazing. So the first rat, again, they hive-minded them. Now what this is, when they hive-mind, it's called bi-directional streaming. So you get it? Bi-directional, both directions, to and from rat number one to rat number two, okay? And a streaming of the information, a streaming of the electrical signals. Because why again? Because the brain is electrical as well as chemical, okay? So you can send signals how? Via electric, right? That's what signals are. Okay. Simple but complicated, but simple. All right? So the first rat went ahead and pressed the lever and got the food. Then the electrical signal, they sent it to the second rat, and he received the signal in his motor cortex and boop, pushed the lever and got the treat. Never had gotten it before. Never would have known how to get it. He would have just been looking at, poor rats. They're not that smart. That little rat would have been looking at that treat thing for months and not been able to get it out. But because they hive-minded him with the first rat that they had trained, voila. Hive-minding, okay? Hive-minding, synchronization of two brains, mind melding, interfacing, brain networking, like an internet. You just sync two brains. Amazing. It kind of reminds you of the scene off the movie The Matrix where Keanu Reeves' character, he wanted to learn Kung Fu, so they just kind of uploaded it into his brain, and then he woke up and was like, I know Kung Fu, remember? And Lawrence Fishburne character was like, show me. Remember? That was interfacing, I believe. That's what that was trying to showcase. It would appear like. So, benefits. Oh my goodness. There's so many. You'll have to do your own research as well. Don't just take my word on it. Research these things. Use your critical thinking. But what could it cure? There's so many elements and things in the human body and brain, like mental illnesses, dementias, autisms, anxiety, depression, things like that, scattered thinking. If you take somebody, okay, like with the rats, rat one, person one, maybe a healthy minded person, all their little neuron soldiers are lined up right, they're all right. What do they say? They don't got their deck of cards is not short. They got the full 52 cards, you know what I mean? Probably even an extra bonus one in there. So you take a person like that and you hive mind them, maybe with a person who's a little bit short, right? Okay, your deck is a little short. That's all right. You still got it, but it's a little short. Maybe the coding, the electrical signals, when the pathways are correctly thinking, that could be transmitted to the second person that needed to know how to, think in a more productive, healthier manner, right? Amazing. It would appear that that would be possible. Don't know if they've gotten that far yet. Who are we kidding? They're that far. It just probably hasn't been rolled out yet. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just speculating. Um, but I would think, these people don't play when they're researching. I know that. That I know. Okay, also physical. Think about things like ailments, like, okay, soldiers go to war and, lose their arm, or even through natural, like disease, not natural, but through a disease process, cancers and stuff like that. Somebody loses their whole limb, or loses, like strokes. They have the limb, it's perfectly healthy, but they can't even use it because, the signal from the brain won't go to the signal in the body part to make it move, right? That connection isn't happening. Well, what if you're able to force that signal through, right? So that the motor cortex pushes it on through to the limb and the person can move their arm again, move their leg again, right? The face fixed, I've heard of and I've seen videos that they have created things like exoskeletons, which is basically that, like the person will wear it and then the signals will transmit to the equipment, to the exoskeleton that's computer interfaced, and it will move for them. Pretty cool. Kind of like RoboCop. I was watching that the other day. I was going to watch the whole movie, but I just watched a few bits and pieces. It was pretty good. So yeah, force that signal on through. Right? So many benefits that this technology, okay? So they're able to hive mind, okay? Now, here's the thing, hive mind. That reminds me of like a beehive. You know how like the beehive, all the bees, and they're working hard and they're getting all the honey, and they're cohesive and they're working as a unit and they're wonderful. They get a lot done. But then also too in the beehive, there's also like a queen, right? Even like in the movie The Borg, the queen mother or whatever. And I'm saying for this situation. So like you got your bees that are hive minded, but then are they hive minded to like the queen bee? Like is she the one that like is she the master of the bees and everybody is like all the other bees are hive minded on her? Or what? I don't know. That just kind of reminds me of that, So when I think of hive mind, maybe I'll just use the brain interfacing one or syncing. I like syncing. Like you can sync two devices, a phone to another phone, a phone to a TV, a phone to a tablet, da-da-da. So yeah, but so many benefits and also, okay, potential for abuse, okay, because whenever you're accessing a human brain, maybe it could be non-consensual. I mean, what if they forced it through? The rats weren't really consenting. You know what I mean? Like they kind of was forced to be interfaced with each other, Or what if you get interfaced with somebody that you don't want to be interfaced with, right? Like, oh, I don't want, or you don't want them to be interfaced to you. You want to help people, but not like if they're a disgusting person or something. You know what I mean when I say disgusting? I mean like spiritually, like a disgusting person. Like you don't want them in your brain. Like, no. Kind of reminds you on a spiritual level too, right? Not to get off track, but like spiritually, it kind of reminds you like of like possession, right? Like melding two people in one, kind of funny. I don't know what I would think about that. So there's a potential for abuse, obviously, okay, whenever you're doing anything with the brain. So powerful. All right, so that's my research that I did. I hope that you benefited from hearing it, okay? If I were you, I would look up Dr. Persinger and Dr. Robert G. Malik. Maybe you can find out what machine that they made. I'm not going to tell you. You got to research it. Look up Dr. Delgado. Maybe even YouTube. He has videos that actually shows the bull. Look it up. It's interesting. Dr. John Hall. He has videos on YouTube. He also is a targeted individual. So that's all together for TIs out there. If you haven't checked out John Hall, I definitely would. I'm not 100% backing him, but as far as everything that's going on, but he does have a interesting outlook and valuable information for targeted individuals. Okay, you can get these books too on audiobooks. Okay, Dr. John Hall's got the 2 books, Guinea Pigs, and also A New Breed, Advanced Satellite-Based Technology. All right, so people, good people, TIs, what did you learn today? What research are you gonna do? Something, right? Feel free to make comments and email me. That's probably, if it's a really serious thing, probably email me. That's a little bit safer because I do have a lot of perks on my channel. So just FYI, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Do it. Okay, do it. You'll like it. Okay, that way you can get more videos whenever I release them. If not, don't feel pressured, but I try to do research that you can benefit from. Okay, so thank you for watching. Appreciate your time, and remember to do your research. And the true God loves us. All right, thank you. Bye.